Hey everybody, welcome back to the Fired Up with CJ show. Today we have my dear friend Jon Bernie, who is a spiritual teacher, and we've been talking about how we could do some self healing, how this time is a perfect time to do self healing and an opportunity for us to feel more peace and equanimity if we are able to do some spiritual awakening through this whole process. So, welcome, John.
Thank you so much, Gina. It's good to be with you and everyone.
So I'm sure that all of us are kind of curious about the online satsangs and what to expect. And I thought I would use myself and other people. What I find when I have actually attended one of these online satsangs is that it almost feels like everyone is connected to me. So they're bringing up something, and I'm like, oh no, I also relate to that. Then they'll bring up something else. I'm like, oh, I also relate to that. It's like a continuum, even though there's me in like five different faces that appear during an online satsang. So I'm hoping the same will occur that I am here. You're going to be doing some healing with me, but that as people listening can actually attune to the energy, attune to the experience, and gather some ideas on the self healing that they can be doing at home.
Definitely. So if you're listening now, that even though I'm working with CJ, and this is something that I would say in my groups when I'm doing the online groups, or even when I'm doing public groups, when I have in the past, but now they're all online, is that how you listen actually makes a huge difference in how your deep experience of just being here will unfold for you. So if you might want to just take a moment right now to notice how you're listening, even to these interviews that we're doing, and notice if you're very external, like you're just thinking about it, or maybe you're distracted about something else and you're barely hearing it. So just take time to come back right now, and by all means, be really gentle and forgiving of yourself, because most of our habits of mind and body and emotions are completely unconscious. It's not our fault that we react. It's not our fault that we're afraid. It's not our fault that we're overwhelmed. It's not our fault that we're out of control or we don't know what's happening. All of these things we can feel very threatened and very insecure. It's not, it's like do the best you can, but keep coming back and really listening. So right now, let's just start. I'm going to do a little guidance with CJ, and if you would like, as you're listening, to tune in the same way, I invite you to do it, because I get feedback from people who listen to the recordings of these events and recordings of podcasts and things where they actually feel this incredible, deep, energetic process happening. And I get feedback from students all over the world how incredibly helpful, healing, and transformative it is for them. And that's happening on a very subliminal level.
Hmm. And
It's not necessarily something that you're going to feel. Now, some people may feel it. They, oh my God, I feel connected to everyone here, and it's extraordinary. Other people go, I'm not having that experience, but they'll feel a lot better afterwards and not know why. Or they might actually start to feel that something's starting to get triggered in them. Something's starting to be activated. So that's another thing that I let people know, is that when we get attuned in this deeper way, it may start bringing up unconscious material that's uncomfortable. And that's actually, even though it's uncomfortable and difficult, it's actually a sign that it's working. In other words, actually a sign that you're healing and that you're opening up and moving more towards inner peace. The natural inclination, the instinctual inclination, is to run out the door and to get away from it. That's I tell people, if you want to run out the door, it's working. So that's why in all of, like in traditional Zen training, you're not allowed to move and you have to stay right there. You know, this is why, in the famous stories about the Buddha 2,500 years ago, and at the night of his enlightenment, he's sitting in full lotus under the Bodhi tree and he's got his hand touching the ground. He's like grounding while he's being, basically tormented by all these internal demons and so forth. So this is very much an opportunity for learning how to understand what true spiritual practice is. It's not following your breath or doing some protocol that you learned from your teacher or whatever you do. Yes, you can do all those things. Those are fine, whatever they are, even if whatever it is, or you don't have to have anything like that. But it's really about how to learn your own internal guidance system that was always guiding you back to peace and equanimity. Because nature is always looking for balance, always, and that's externally and internally. So our challenge right now is, given how out of whack things feel right now, how do we find our inner balance? Because we're going to need to do that to get through this individually and collectively, and in terms of maybe even making changes about how we think about what's really important in this life. And so this is a potential catalytic environment worldwide that could potentially bring forth profound change in human consciousness. It's very possible. And I'm feeling really emotional saying that, because I've devoted my whole life to this. And I know how difficult this situation is. It's difficult for me. It's difficult for my loved ones. It's difficult for everyone around me. And yet I'm also having profound periods of peace and equanimity. And so let's get started. That was a
Okay, I have a question for people who are doing this for the very first time. Should they listen to this as a guided meditation? What are they supposed to do? Are they
yeah,
opening their
yeah,
hearts?
yeah.
What should I do as I'm
I'm,
sitting here
I'm
watching?
going to.
You
I'm
know,
actually going to guide everyone
you
right now
are okay. And
for just a
open
few.
eyes or close eyes.
Either, whatever
Okay.
comfortable. If you can have your eyes open and feel like you're just really deeply relaxed, that's perfectly fine.
Okay.
If you find that it's easier to tune into your body and your breath and what you're feeling by closing your eyes, then close your eyes. And you can go back and forth, whatever you feel comfortable with. So I would say start with just noticing how you are right now, and maybe just open your mouth and take a nice, deep, full lung breath and let go of the exhale and make a little sigh exhale, like a I call it breathing a sigh of relief. That's good. Now just feel your feet in contact with the floor. If you're sitting on a chair, feel your hands resting, palms down on your thighs. Notice the natural movement of your breath. If you're able to feel it in your belly, that's more advantageous, because that can help really uh, increase alpha waves in your brain and make you more relaxed kinesthetically in your body. If you breathe higher up, it tends to stimulate beta waves and mental activity. So you want to really start to redirect attention out of thinking, not to force yourself to stop thinking, because that's not going to happen. That's not going to work. But if your mind's really, really busy and agitated, which very likely will be and can be, that's fine. Just notice that. And then come back to the primary agitation that's in your body, to what you're sensing. Maybe you're just feeling insecure or uncomfortable, and also maybe you're starting to sense, oh, what is this deeper sense of quiet I'm aware of right now? Because I can sense that with you, CJ, as we're tuning in. Can you feel that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So just even bringing attention internally, all of a sudden we start to access a deeper space within, which is really what spiritual practice is all about, is beginning to access that space that is deeply our consciousness. And so great. So now that you're attuned there, I would say just notice that space if you're aware of it, and just let yourself be here. Let yourself be calm, and just relax to whatever level you're able to just relax right now. Even though your mind may be distracted, may be agitated, just gently bring your attention back to breathing, resting, and allowing yourself to be here right now. Allowing yourself to rest in this spacious stillness that may be available to you. Now, that's what I'm sensing with you, but other people may be feeling more of what they haven't been feeling. And I would invite everyone who's listening to just gently be aware of what they're feeling in a way that doesn't interfere with it, doesn't make conclusions about it, doesn't get caught in the conclusions about it, doesn't get caught in trying to understand it or fix it or get rid of it, but just find a place where you can be present with your experience, where you're not interfering with it. This is where I jokingly say that people, they have to learn how to become their own double-blind study. where they can observe and be aware of the experiment but not interfere with it. That's really what practice is. Because the deeper healing is actually naturally trying to happen. It's like gravity. You don't have to tell a ball when you throw it out a window to go and hit the ground. It just will. And this is exactly the same right now. Our deeper nature will naturally open up to us if we let it. And so much of what we're learning deeply is how to let healing happen, how to let balance be where we return to. It's completely natural, and ironically, it's effortless. This is where we have a very hard time understanding it because our egos and our survival mind, which is very activated right now, is all about getting results, getting things done, taking care of things, surviving, managing all of it, right? So this is really an incredible opportunity to really see the whole picture of life, not just the survival part.
Okay,
So it
so
feels
yeah, I'm feeling like weird, like some feeling in my lower back and my kind of lung area, and then my heart. I'm just feeling a little
right.
tightness.
Right. There's some noises coming from the upstairs apartment. I don't know if you can hear that on the recording, but so just notice what you're sensing right now. Notice those sensations. That's right. Give them some space. Notice if you're reacting to them in any way or trying to change them in any way.
Yeah, and then there's this just tightness, like kind of like a
Yeah.
choking here.
Right. So again, this is where can you be aware of that in such a way that gives it space. So you might even want to widen your sense of attention into a bigger field around yourself right now. So you're not hyper vigilant focused on your symptoms. I think we can get very hyper vigilant focused, like every time you get a cough, oh my God, is this it? Every time, you're terrified to sneeze, you're afraid, we're afraid right now. I think most people are afraid of possibly getting ill and what could happen. So this is where you notice the symptoms that you may be having, and then allow yourself, even if it's tension in your body or emotional arisings or there's symptoms you're describing, let's just be with them right now and see if you can be with them in a way that's not uh, overlaying them with thought and reactive mind. So I'm tuning in with your throat right now, and I'm just almost like we're connected there and just allowing there to be space. So even as I'm working with you now, and this is the way I work with people, it's almost like it's psychic screen sharing. It's almost like I'm in there, that your throat is my throat now. And so in a way, it's almost like there's an entrainment of communication that's being um, transmitted in some extraordinary way that I can't explain, that actually helps us learn from each other deeply in this way. Do you understand?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm feeling, before it was like I was feeling like someone was choking me.
Mm-hmm.
And as you're attuning, I could feel it just like opening, my throat opening up.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. So in a way, we learn how to allow. This is really the realm that's called non-doing, or the realm of no self. That's what people have seen those terms, or non-dual realm. Those are all the same kinds of descriptions of what's actually happening right now with the CJ and I, because there's no separation right now. And even as you're listening, even though this is a recording, you might actually feel this. I don't know how it gets transmitted in these recordings, but it somehow miraculously does. So this deep space of connectedness is what you might say is the goal of the work, is to be able to return to and to keep finding nurturing and healing and personal healing. And naturally through that, it's almost a transmutational thing where the physical states and the physical symptoms, the emotional states actually get uh, they return back to their original energetic nature of consciousness itself. And now we're having it happen experientially, right? It's not some concept. Well, sounds like there's some work being done. I don't know if you can hear that, but interesting.
That was just that's you tuning into my internal system.
Yeah, it's
Things
yeah,
becoming
right.
unblocked.
Yeah, right. It's like we're getting confirmation from the universe. The upstairs neighbor just is compelled to start hammering right now on the floor. It's like perfect timing for our peace and equanimity. Like I was saying, you can access peace and equanimity, and any moment it could be interrupted by something that gets in the way, like that noise that we're hearing. So thank you so much. I didn't even ask them to do that. It was perfect timing
On
for all of
cue.
us to notice how we're like going, oh my God, that's like really, that's a buzzkill.
Knock knock. Coronavirus.
All right, talk about a buzzkill.
Okay.
Can we ever say ever again, have a nice day? I mean, it's like, is that ever going to be a possibility in human life again? you know, it's, okay. Well, I'm glad we're getting some humor because I think humor is it's hard to access humor right now. And when you do have it, I'd say let it happen because it's very healthy.
Yeah, I feel a sense of lightness right now. Everything actually looks lighter. You even look
Yeah,
lighter.
yeah, and your eyes are brighter too, which is interesting. It's nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really good. Yeah, I have stuff that's moving here in my third eye area, my sinus area, but I assume that that's something that just like you said, it's found its place and it's going to evolve and
Well,
shift around.
yeah, we keep learning how to be present in such a way that things can keep moving because everything ultimately is in movement.
Right.
Hope this was helpful to you and your listeners that we had this brief little session right now.
And so for folks who are interested, they can go to Jon Bernie, Bernie, BERNIE.org, and attend some of the online satsangs where you can sit live with the presence. I'm sure even when I've listened to, like you said, I've listened to some of your MP3s that I've downloaded off of your website, I still feel the energy. I actually painted my whole two bathrooms and I was painting, listening to yourself. And it made painting so much more enjoyable. Um, um, and you definitely get something off of the MP3s, and I'm sure with the
I
YouTube
know
and
I get really funny. Can I share one little funny story?
yeah,
That
sure.
one of my students in Australia, her 4-year-old daughter she didn't want to have a. She said, "Let's do a bedtime story, honey." She goes, "No, no, I want Jon Bernie. I want Jon Bernie," and she would want to hear my voice on the podcast before going to sleep. She insisted on it, and I thought that was the cutest thing.
You're like the new AMSR.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know.
That's great.
I thought it was really adorable.
So if you want to hear Jon Bernie's voice, you can download his MP3s
Yeah,
to put you to sleep.
I think we have a podcast, an iTunes podcast, whatever it's called. You can find it on my website.
Yeah, so you can actually download a whole bunch of these.
Oh yeah,
He can tell you, you can hear
tons of them.
Jon Bernie's nighttime stories
Right.
as an adult. So go to his website, jonbernie.org. Thank you so much,
Sure,
Jon.
so welcome, CJ. It's always a pleasure to be with you.
It means so much to me that you're listening to the show. Would love your support in any way by giving me comments below or to subscribe to the show or share the show with friends. Thank you again for your support. Love and blessings.